So I always try to come up with like a framework or an acronym to help something stick with my team. So this is one of many that I've come up with over the years, but it was specifically related to like gap planning, right? So like we go into a quarter or a half, we have a number that we have to hit, and eventually you get to a point in the half or even into the year where like the story of that half or the story of that quarter is about to be written unless we can really like think about how we gap plan and how we gap plan effectively. So for factors outside of your control, for obviously a multitude of reasons that people either hit quota or don't, you can find yourself like really, really far off, which can be very demotivating, right? Of like, I am just so far from hitting this number, I don't know even where to start. You can be like so close, but you need a couple of things to break in your direction or get lucky. Um, or you can be like pacing so far ahead that you're kind of like sitting pretty and you might start coasting, but coasting could be the difference between hitting 107% to goal versus like 125% to goal. And so like you want to keep those people motivated too, especially for sellers, many of whom are motivated by money and motivated by accelerators. That's why we're all in this business, right? And so as a leader, you may have all of those scenarios on one team, right? So like there are people that are crushing it, there are people that are right there, and then there might be like one, we call them pod, like an account executive that works with the client solutions manager. Like you might have one pod that's just like so floundering. So I created this as a mechanism to coach at both the team level. Like you might have a whole team that's floundering right now. Like where I've had quarters and halves as a leader where my whole team combined is like 80 something percent to goal. And it's just like, my God, you feel so far from it. And how do you keep the team motivated? I've never had a team where every single pod is crushing it. So I'll come back to you if I ever do. But this gave me a framework to, for my own team, coach to the individuals, but also coach to what the team needed at scale, and to also be able to share that with all of my peers. Because I actually created this, we did like a coaching summit a few years ago, and I did an elective around gap planning. And so I was like, how can I take this into a framework that like any manager can just sort of pick what they need for either an individual pod or for what their team is going through. So that's how it all came to be. And then once you think about, okay, how is this pod or how is my team tracking to quota? How are they tracking to our KPIs, the customer engagement that they're getting? And then I have like different tactics or different activities that you could do with your team for each. So when a pod or a team is in floundering mode, it's really just about like taking a big step back. Like, how can you dream really big? Like, you have the luxury of feeling so far away from your goal that maybe it pushes you to think bigger or think differently about a customer that you've been challenged with. And like, what would it look like to just, magic wand the situation and then actually create an action plan around that? Or pattern matching, right? Like, how are some of your customers more similar than they are different? And what are tactics you could use at scale across your customer base to like feel like you're drumming up and generating more opportunity and more interest by like doing that pattern matching exercise? So those are the types of things that I would do for or a team in floundering. Focusing is really more about that like tactical gap planning, right? Like, how do we truly assess impact versus effort and then the lowest hanging fruit? So like we stack rank and have like tactical action items for each person in the pod, what they're going to do based on effort, based on impact, based on likelihood to activate, and based on timing of that likelihood to activate. So you could actually visually see how it's going to translate to revenue, especially in quarter or in half, to get you over the finish line. And then for those that are flourishing, honestly, it's about like, in theory, of course, maybe some people just get lucky, but like in theory, those are the people that are doing the most right. So how do you hold up a mirror to them so that they can really see what they're doing, reflect on it, find ways to replicate their processes, what they are doing well, and scale it out to the team, help their teammates think differently, get remotivated, and at the same time, funnel that back into the processes that they are doing as an account executive or as a pod. Because like I said, that might be the difference between like hitting your number versus blowing out your number. If you can really reflect on what am I doing right? And if it's working over here, will it work over there and over there and over there with those customers too? And that could be the difference between making club 1 year versus not.